All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Picture this. You're doing the dishes. You pull the plug on one side of your double-basin sink, and instead of just disappearing down the drain like it's supposed to, that greasy, dirty, yesterday's dinner water starts bubbling right back up into the other side. Yeah, it is a horrifying scenario and a very specific type of plumbing nightmare. But don't panic. Today, we're breaking down a fantastic diagnostic guide on exactly why both sides of your sink are backing up simultaneously, and honestly, more importantly, how to fix it safely.
Now, seeing dirty water creeping up both sides at once, it induces instant panic. But that visual is actually the very first clue in our medical diagnostic approach to solving your sink issues. You see, when one side fills and the other side rises, your sink is giving you a very specific symptom. It's telling you loud and clear that the issue isn't just isolated to one drain.
To get things flowing again, we'll tackle this in 5 quick steps. The double sink mystery, 4 common drain culprits, your quick diagnostic guide, safe and simple fixes, and finally, when to call a pro.
Part 1. The double sink mystery. Let's look at the anatomy.
So, a lot of us just assume that 2 drains mean 2 totally separate pipes running deep into the earth, but that's actually a huge myth. In almost all modern plumbing, both basins actually connect into a shared horizontal run, a common trap area, or a single downstream connection right behind the wall or under the cabinet. They operate as one single system.
And because of this shared pathway, when one side fills and the other rises simultaneously, it usually means air and water literally can't move properly through this shared section. The backup path is common to both fixtures, meaning you've got a systemic issue on your hands, not just a localized one.
Moving on to Part 2, 4 common drain culprits. Let's find out what's blocking the path.
So, what's actually blocking that shared pathway? Well, according to the source material, there are exactly 4 main suspects that cause this double basin phenomenon. And they range from your classic, everyday clogs to some pretty complex structural issues. Let's break these down into pairs so we can really understand what's happening down in those pipes.
First up, we've got shared and partial clogs. This is the gross part, right? Food scraps, heavy grease, coffee grounds, hair, they all collect right where the water flow naturally slows down, which is typically in that shared section below both basins. If a clog totally blocks the point where both drains combine, both sinks fill up together. But listen, even a partial blockage is a massive culprit. With a partial blockage, the water might drain totally fine for a second, but when enough water hits it at once, the shared line just gets overwhelmed and the water level climbs in one basin, followed immediately by the other.
Then we have culprits 2 and 3, blocked venting and misalignment. Plumbing vents are absolutely crucial because they allow air to replace water as it drains. If your sink's vent is blocked, the water just can't pull through freely. It's kind of like trying to pour juice out of a carton without punching that second little hole in the top. It leads to super slow drainage and all that annoying gurgling. On the flip side, misalignment usually happens after a DIY project. Incorrect trap configurations, maybe from a garbage disposal you just installed, can create conditions that literally force water up the wrong path and straight into the other basin.
Section 3. Your quick diagnostic guide. Let's find the problem.
Before you go tearing your pipes apart and turning your kitchen into a total swamp, we're going to run a non-invasive diagnostic test. Here is your step-by-step observation guide. First, try draining the basins separately. Run water in just one side and watch to see if the other rises. Next, use your ears. Listen closely for gurgling sounds. Then, physically check the under-sink fittings for any visible issues. And finally, figure out if your garbage disposal is part of the equation.
What's super interesting here is that just by watching and listening, you can figure out if you're dealing with a respiratory venting issue or a digestive clog issue. If both basins back up at the exact same time and the sink area is making strong gurgling noises, you should highly suspect a venting restriction or trapped air. But if one basin drains slower for a bit and the other is totally fine until you run a massive amount of water all at once, you're likely looking at a partial downstream restriction, basically a clog that is just starting to build up.
Also, as part of your diagnostic, make sure you actually get down and check underneath the sink. You're looking for standing water pooling in the clear trap area if you have one, or checking for misseated connections. And definitely assess that disposal. If a garbage disposal feeds into the same shared line, clogs originating from that unit can easily push right back up and ruin both basins.
All right, Part 4. Safe and simple fixes. How to resolve it. So, you've got your diagnosis. Now for the treatment plan. And honestly, how you treat this matters just as much as clearing it. If the backup points to a deeper, shared clog, a physical tool like a plumber's auger or a drain snake works way better and is far more effective in a shared run than any liquid solution. Our source material explicitly warns to avoid corrosive chemical drain cleaners. Pouring those harsh chemicals down the drain can severely damage older plumbing and absolutely wreck septic systems, which ultimately makes any future professional repairs so much harder and more expensive.
But hey, you always want to start with the easiest, least invasive steps first, right? Sometimes just pulling visible gunk out of the sink strainers up top does the trick. If that doesn't work, cleaning out the accessible pipe sections near the trap, if your undersink setup allows for it, should definitely be your next course of action, way before you ever reach for a heavy-duty auger.
Finally, Section 5. When to call a pro. Knowing your limits.
Look, we've got to set some boundaries here, because not everything is a quick Saturday DIY project. If you're seeing recurring backups that just keep happening no matter what you clean out, actual water leaking around the trap fittings under the sink, clogs that feel like they are completely beyond the reach of a standard homeowner snake, or, the scariest one, multiple drains in your home showing the exact same backing up symptoms, yeah, it's time to call for help. This points to a deep, systemic issue in the shared drainage or main vent system that absolutely requires professional, in-person confirmation.
This is especially true if you think you've got a venting problem. If things are draining slowly all over the house, or maybe this all started right after you had some roof work done or a major storm, fixing a blocked vent is significantly harder than clearing out some trapped food. It often means accessing internal wall pipes or even climbing up to roof components, and that absolutely requires a licensed expert. No way around it. Which really brings us to the biggest takeaway from our source text. This entire diagnostic process matters because getting it right stops you from unnecessarily tearing apart your plumbing or making the problem way worse. Knowing whether you have a downstream clog or a venting failure saves you immense time, frustration, and money spent on the wrong tools or the wrong fixes.
So next time your sink starts backing up, step away from the harsh chemicals. Ask yourself, is your house just dealing with a simple case of indigestion, or is it desperately trying to warn you about a failure in its hidden respiratory system? Run those quick diagnostics, figure out the root cause, and you'll be fully equipped to save your sink. Thanks for checking out this explainer, and good luck with the troubleshooting.